work on my hair a little bit. Slept pretty good. Slept well last night. Weekend went well. It was a big weekend. So let's just cut to the chase. Get right to the training. So your spirit is your true shield. What does that mean? Spirit is the true shield. Well, I talk a lot about the influence we have over kind of ourselves and the world around us. So, in one sense, we have a story to tell. And that's the story is what, where we're coming from and where we think we're going, right? The story of our lives, the story of our experiences, the story of our past, the story of our ancestors. And then, that's kind of in the mind, but what the mind is something we share. You have your own thoughts, but you share the mind. The mind is language, the mind is past future, the mind is how we are able to, and this is the kind of the other realm that you exist in, communicate. So, you've got the story that you tell, and then you've got communication. And communication is it's not just words, right? It's not just the words you use. It's your body language. It's your tone. It's your the things you work with other people on. The way you communicate is beyond just your language. It's more than just that. So that's the second kind of realm. And then the other kind of realm is your practice. Like what you're working on and what you're working towards. And so they all, of course, interact. The story, the conversation, the practice. But the question that this stanza answers, the spirit is the true shield, is what is underneath your story, how you communicate, and what you are moving towards. What is it? What is that thing? And why is that significant? Well, here's why I think it's significant. We have to teach people to recognize that within them is the capacity for open-heartedness, love, and compassion. We have to teach that. And I think I've always, I've always listened to my teaching, the teaching from first the Catholic Church, and then you can have a movement away from the Catholic Church, but a coming back to the basic tenets of the Catholic Church in other forms. And I think those basic tenets are, love and openness and goodwill and honor and integrity. And as I've kind of, that's kind of where I started and how I kind of looped back to the same basic principles. What has really hit me is that these things have to be taught. And so now I have kids, and so now I'm teaching my kids these same kind of things. And I think the reason why we have to understand that these things need to be taught is that they don't show up unless we teach them. And I think the reason why they don't show up is because life is really hard. And I think there are a lot of ways to create a path forward. There's a lot of ways to get things done, but getting things done in a way that is not loving, not honest, not kind, not patient, fosters a ton of problems. And the problems, we've seen them throughout kind of human history. And what we've seen from our great teachers is that those problems can be overcome by the cultivation of, in the Catholic sense, it's a Holy Spirit, right? But that's just language. In another sense, it's a participation in an honest way. There's a very well-known mindfulness teacher a guy named Thich Nhat Hanh. And he teaches mindfulness similar to how I teach mindfulness, but his big emphasis on the practice of mindfulness is not the practice of becoming aware, but what you put that awareness into, what you cut out, what you leave aside, and what you put into your awareness. And he has the 5 mindfulness trainings, and for him, you're studying awareness, you're studying mindfulness to bring the 5 mindfulness trainings to every moment of your life. And the 5 mindfulness trainings deal with doing no harm to yourself and to others, deal with how you eat, deal with your interactions with violence. So they're basic fundamental tenets. And so I want to come back again to this basic idea that they have to be taught. Now, what happens when you become taught these types of things, love, kindness, integrity, compassion, is they develop into your armor, right? And I shouldn't say your armor, they develop into your shield. Okay, your shield is something that shield and armor, I'm getting into semantics, but the experience of being shielded from, or the experience of having a shield itself, is not something that you go on attack with. You don't attack, but it is something that protects you. And what it protects you from is not the enemy, right? The enemy isn't out there as much as it is the enemy within that can either grow and sprout and dominate, or can be kind of in check, right? There is no getting rid of it. There is no getting to this place of perfection. None of that's real. That's all just fancy story and fancy communication. It always breaks down, always. So what you're building off of is what we've kind of built off of, which are these basic tenets. And the reason why these basic tenets of love and kindness and compassion and support, even in dark realms, right? Even in darkness, these are the things that you cultivate, is because they do something to us. They do something inside of us, and what happens inside of us has an influence on what is happening outside of us. So I'll finish up here. When we get to this 4th bell, okay, what we're looking for is not just the quiet open-heartedness that's always within, but a recognition that that is something to cultivate and put out. So the compassion, or so bell 1, okay, bell 1 gets us out of the story and into the present moment. Bell 2 creates a communication with our body and how our body is presented. So our alignment, and that's bell 2. Bell 3 is how we interact with our feelings on the inside through breath. So that's a feeling kind of thing. But bell 4 is the cultivation of the spirit, right? And it's worth saying the Holy Spirit. It's worth thinking the Holy Spirit, and not in the religious dogma sense, but in the sense that your spirit is holy, and it's holy in the context of your goodwill, your willingness to be a good person, your willingness to push forward with compassion and kindness no matter what, no matter what. Your willingness to do that is a holy phenomena. It's holy. It's a big deal. It's transcendent, and we think about religion now, especially in a lot of the modern context, it's just like old, thinking and da 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 da. But it's everything. It's everything, not a particular religion. I'm not saying a particular religion. I'm saying the basic tenets of religion, that there's a holy element to us that we have to cultivate and bring out. That is really important. And if we don't do that, if we don't teach it, if we don't pass it on, we do so at our own peril. And the reason why we know this is we've seen the growth of dishonesty. We've seen the growth of the use of darkness as a foundation, the use of lying, deceit, misinterpretation. We've seen that as a useful tool for kind of cultivating power. We've seen it. And what's happening is now, and what's always happened with this stuff, but what's happening now, which is different, is that we see it moving at the speed of the digital world. And the problem with the speed of the digital world is that it interconnects, and it is a powerful thing to be the opposite, or to participate with the opposite of goodwill. It's a powerful thing. And it's always been a powerful thing. It will always be a powerful thing, and humans will always have to contend with it. And so when I say that your spirit is your ultimate shield, it's what's inside of you that you hold as your core deep value. And your core deep value, if it is to be good and to be kind and to love your neighbor and to do good by your family and to leave a legacy of goodwill, that has to be taught. And as we teach it and as people participate with it, they see that the true power that lies within everyone is the spirit. So that's my lesson for today. And let's get to the training. What cues you to comfort? Now, it's not, mindfulness isn't about relaxation, right? Relaxation is a part of it. But mindfulness is all about getting out of the story, getting into the body, interacting with the feelings, so they're not putting up a barrier, and then cultivating your spirit, or cultivating your goodwill, which is fourth belt. So that's what we're headed towards. That's why we do it. We get all kinds of benefits along the way, but ultimately the goal is to get to that participation with compassion, that participation with gratitude, that open-hearted engagement with life. Checking into the eyes, light and shadow. What do the eyes feel like? Does it feel like maybe close them or just cast them down? What's going on with sound? Where do you hear what you hear? What kind of sounds are you hearing? Check in with the skin. Where is your skin showing up as maybe temperature or sensation of, pressure from your clothing or fabric? What's going on with skin? Smell and taste. Smell and taste. What do you notice about the smells or the absence of smells? Just take a moment, notice smell. And then take another moment and just notice taste. What's going on in your mouth, interacting with taste. Get to the body, starting with your ground. Get grounded. Feel what's underneath you. Feel your feet. Feel your rear end. Feel the outside edges of your legs, the outsides of your ankles. Get grounded. Move up. Pelvis. It's worth shifting a little bit, feeling your center of gravity. Where is it? Move up to the core space. Heart space. Don't forget about those shoulder blades. Throat space. top of the head. Now, once you've got to the top of your head, just excuse me, just kind of picture the top of your head is overwatch for your spine and the rest of your body. So from the perspective of the tip top of your head, what does this rest of the spine feel like? You've got your spine that's nice and upright, and you've got everything else kind of not hanging off of, but like ready but unnecessary, like untense, unused. It's more everything's just kind of set up, right? So there's a balance. It's not a perfect relaxation. It's not tension. It's a balance between alert and relaxed. And it's not a stable place. It's a kind of an edge, right? It's an edge that teeters back and forth, that is always kind of in tension with itself in order to kind of stay kind of engaged, right? It's not an end point. It's a space that you participate with. Okay, let's go to third bell, get into the breath. Let's go max out. And let it go. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. In through the mouth. Out through the nose. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Into the mouth. Out through the nose. Take your right pointer finger, close your right nostril, in through your left nostril. Out through your left nostril. Switch into your right nostril. Out through your right nostril. In through right. Switch, cover right, out left. Into left. Switch, cover left, out through right. Drop technique, just sit in breath. Normal breathing. Just see if you can notice any nuanced change. Your breath changes your body with every single round. Every single breath changes your body. Just we mostly don't notice it. So look for the littlest changes. The littlest changes. We study this because there's so much to learn here. There's so much nuance to unpack. There's so much unconscious awareness that needs to be brought to conscious awareness that you can learn and study the breath forever. It never, ever will get old. But that's that little piece right there, right? That little instance right there. The first two bells set it up, okay? The first two bells, bell one, bell two, gets us out of the story, gets us into the body, gets us into the present moment, okay? Third bell, getting into nuance, getting into subtlety, getting into what's awareness. And this is where it becomes your true shield, okay? You're at the very kind of beginning of what's underneath you. What is the core of you? And then how do you know, and how is it expressed? Well, in the moment, right? In a moment of battle, in a moment of conflict, are you aware of what's underneath the story, what's underneath the body, what's underneath your emotions. Are you aware of the goodwill inside of you, and are you cultivating it? Because it's that goodwill that you want to step off of. You step off of goodwill into battle. You don't step off of ill will into battle. You step off of goodwill into battle, and you battle ill will with goodwill. And that doesn't take place, that doesn't start physically. It doesn't start with physical contact. It can develop into violence, but ultimately what's way before violence is the spirit of goodwill. So as we go into fourth bell, as we go into fourth bell, we take that goodwill and we we bring it into something. We bring it into we bring it into gratitude for ourselves, right? So cultivating a sense of gratitude, a sense of, there's so much value to my life. There's so much beauty to my life. There's so much wonder in my life. There's so many things that are worth being grateful for. So that's cultivating against a sense of depression, despair, a sense of, my life is worthless or there's nothing worth living for. You cultivate that sense of gratitude because if you're alive, there's reason to be alive. If you're alive, there's reason to be alive. So you're always cultivating that. That's always, you've got to take care of yourself. You have to. Before you can be any good in the war of goodwill, between goodwill and ill will. If you're going to be any value there, you have to cultivate that sense of gratitude, that sense of connectedness to your own life. And then once you've got that, then you can move out with compassion. So if you've cultivated gratitude, what is good in your life that you're aware of? You have to practice this. I can't tell you how many times I interact with veterans in particular. They're like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. My life is bullshit. That is what that represents is an absence of practice. It's an absence of practice. Okay. So you got to cultivate that. And then once you cultivate that, then you can move into compassion. And that's when it gets good. Like that's when you're like, oh wow, I've got some power here. It's compassion, right? So now I've got a couple things that are worth living for. Let me put my goodwill out to someone else. And so you put your goodwill out to someone else because it's triggering, it's powerful. You put your goodwill out into the world. You offer your compassion into the world. It changes the world. It changes people. It changes people. Okay? It changes the world itself. That's how powerful it is. How do we know it's so powerful? Well, our greatest teachers. Our greatest teachers and our most powerful forces, right? You could say, well, most powerful force on earth is like, the military or violence or et cetera, et cetera. It's not. It's not the most powerful force. Well, the most powerful force on earth are the things that have lasted the longest. And the things that have lasted the longest, and especially in the Western context, is the Christian values espoused by Jesus. And I don't mean this religiously. I mean this as time has told the truth about these basic fundamentals. Time has told the truth. They've lasted through time. They bring people together. This is a basic fundamental. Other great teachers have developed other great fundamentals. And these things have built people. They've built cultures. They've built entire worlds all around these basic fundamentals. And I don't mean one particular religion. I'm talking about this basic human ability of goodwill and compassion and cultivating it for other people. And so that's your true armor. That's your true shield. And so when you share it, okay, when you share it, instead of having to defeat the enemy, when you share goodwill, the enemy cannot establish itself inside the realm that you create. You push out into the world your goodwill. You expand your goodwill, and other people expand their goodwill. And then when darkness or evil or deceit or whatever shows up in that space, it just can't survive. And that's the power that the art of peace is talking about. And I'll finish up today by saying we've got the Honor Quest. Honor Quest is going on this Wednesday between 9 and 12. You can sign up online. So Armor Down Facebook page will have it. You'll see the event to sign up on, so you can sign up there. But we're trying to bring the same kind of goodwill to our history, our hard history. We have Richmond has a hard legacy, but a bright future. And we want to cultivate that bright future by kind of engaging with some of the veteran-oriented historical sites around Richmond, and encouraging you to participate by bringing that goodwill out of you and sharing it with the city. So that's what we're doing. We want to cultivate this space of goodwill. We're going to use Veterans Day as a way to honor our veterans, honor their service and sacrifice, which is precisely what we're talking about, and bring honor to the city. And so we're going to share it. So sign up for the RVA Honor Quest. You can find it, the RVA Honor Quest, on Instagram, the RVA Honor Quest on Facebook. So sign up for that. I'll remind you tomorrow, and then I'll just be a part of it on Wednesday. So yeah. All right. That's it for today. I stayed under 30 minutes. That's going to be my goal from here on out. But thank you for participating. Thank you for being here this morning. It's nice to see you. And we'll see you tomorrow. Later, Armor Down.